Hi, welcome to Well with Samantha with me, Samantha, and this is our pre-recorded practice for the week where we are exploring the Mandukya Upanishad. This is going to be a little bit different, but I invite you to get involved with an open mind. So we're going to really build on what we covered, what we talked about and discussed in our online circle on Monday. And really with the Mandukya Upanishad, it is all about delving a little bit more into that Bija mantra, Om. So we know the Bija mantra from when we explored the Chandogya Upanishad, the uprising of sacred song, and really kind of the meaning behind the resonance and where we feel it in the body. So remember that is that Brahma creative energy that resonates down in the belly, which makes sense because this is where life is created, right? This is where we digest our food. So this is really very much where our creative energy is held. And again, that kind of links to the chakra as well, because our second chakra, our Svadhisthana chakra, which resides just below the navel, is our sexual and creativity center, our sacral chakra. Then we have the U, and that's very much linked to this area here, Vishnu, the preserver. Again, it makes sense because this is where our lungs are, and our lungs are our life force. They preserve life within each of us, right? That's where our breath, our prana, our chi, that's where it goes to before it's directed all around the body and then leaves again. And again, think about it in terms of our Anahata chakra, which resides right here in the center of the chest, our heart chakra, that which cannot be broken. Our heart, just as it lies next to our lungs, is our life preserver. And then we have the which is very much the associated with Shiva, the Hindu deity of, yes, death, but I personally like to think of it more as transformation, because death isn't the end, right? It's the end of something before something else begins. One door closes, another one opens, but it's not the end as in that's it and there's nothing more. So that Shiva energy, that in the Om, is very much associated with the head, the mind, because this is where our kind of problem solving and our ideas percolate. And again, that makes sense, right? Because here we have our Agna chakra, our third eye, for that ability to see the bigger picture, our intuition. We also have our crown chakra, Sahasrara, just above the crown of the head, which connects us to source, right? But we also have our throat chakra here, Vishuddhi chakra, which is where we can speak those ideas into existence. So we remember that, and we remember the pause in between. So we take an inhale, as we exhale, we Om, and then we pause before the next inhale. And that pause is so important because that is the space between the end of the first Om and the beginning of the next one. So it's all interconnected and it's all magical and interwoven. So with the Mandukya Upanishad, we're going to dive into this a little bit more. So we're really building on what we learned through the Chandogya Upanishad and also what we learned on Monday when we were looking at the symbol of the Om, which kind of looks like a 3 with an S attached to it, and there's like a dash and a dot, and as I said in our online circle, like the first time I saw that, it didn't really mean anything to me. I remember seeing it when I was in a RE class in school, and thinking it looked pretty, and God, like kind of what a cool symbol to have for your religion, you know, and that's really as far as my kind of thought process went. And it wasn't until I became a yoga teacher that I started to get really interested in the meaning behind this word Om, because so many people will say it in a class, you know, so many teachers will say it in a class, but do we really know what it is we're saying? And actually, are we doing it justice if we're just saying it without really knowing its true meaning or having that appreciation? So we're going to dive into it a little bit more. And as a reminder, to the sound, there are 4 parts, 4 distinct parts: the 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 and then we have the pause. But in the symbolism itself, there's 5 key parts. So we have the associated with Brahma, and this first part is called Vaishvanara, and this is where we are so in our humanness. We are so connected to the external world. You know, we see, we smell, we hear, we taste, we touch. So we're really connected to the external world, our interpretation of it, and our connection to it as well. Now, that's not a bad thing, right? But everything needs balance. So if we are only connected to the external world and not connected to our inner selves, then we can become, it is believed that we can become very materialistic. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting material things, but it's like I've said in many of our live online circles, it's about balance, and it's about knowing that the joy that those material and external things bring us is finite. Infinite joy can only be experienced through the inner work, the inner self, and that connection to source, the divine, you know, whatever your belief system is. The second one is Taijasa. Hopefully I've pronounced that right. And this is the dreaming state. And so this is where we typically will go to in a meditation, for example. We start to withdraw the senses inwards. So we become aware of the external, and we are aware of it, but we're not attached to it. We become detached as we draw our senses inwards, and we start to kind of find our way through the layers of our bodies. So we have these layers, these kind of subtle layers of our bodies, if you like. We have our physical body, which we can see, right? I can touch this. It's very real. It's very physical. But then we have our breath body. And this is all about our prana, our life force. So as we start to turn our senses inwards, we become very more aware of everything beyond just the physical realm. We become aware of our breath body. And then as we dig a little bit deeper, we travel a little bit further inwards, we become aware of our emotional body, how we feel inside of ourselves, as opposed to how things feel when we touch them, right? So it's our emotions, it's our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs, our judgments. But then we can travel a little bit further inwards, and every time we travel inwards through these subtle bodies, we become more and more detached from the one before it. So the next one is our mental body. So everything that we think of. So we're going a little bit further again. This is really everything that we hold in our belief system, our thoughts, okay? Our ideas, our ability to see the bigger picture, our intuition. And then as we travel further inwards again, we potentially may reach the bliss body, which is that feeling of pure and utter bliss and joy, like euphoria, when we are in a meditation. Now, again, yes, the goal in yoga is to reach a connection of some description, right? But without expectation and without attachment, which can feel kind of counterintuitive, and it can feel easier said than done. But when we go into our practice, whether it's a seated meditation, whether it's breath work, whether it's physical yoga practice, asana, if we come into it without expectation of what we think we should be doing, or how we think it should feel, or what we think it should look like, or what we think we should be doing, then we're more likely to have a more profound experience, because we've let that expectation and that attachment go. And essentially that's our ego, but also its illusion or maya. So that second state, taijasa, is that dreaming state where we just start to draw a little bit further inwards. The third state is prajna, deep sleep. So we're neither dreaming, we're neither attached to our desires. We are not conscious. It's kind of that place in a meditation where for a moment your mind is completely clear. And if you've ever experienced this, you're only aware of it after a thought has come back. And suddenly you go, oh, I was nearly there. Wow, how can I get back there? Because that felt incredible. And sometimes we might not get back there for a while, but it's as with everything, practice and consistency helps us to get there with a little bit more ease, and it helps us to stay there for a little bit longer. So prajna is that state that goes a little bit further again, where there's that kind of clarity and clearing and pause between one conscious thought and another. And in my personal experience, I've only ever been aware of it after a new thought has come into my mind. I'd love to know if you've experienced it though, and how it felt for you. I think you would know if you'd felt it, because it can feel, again, pretty euphoric. And then the fourth one is the superconscious state. This is turiya. The awareness is not necessarily outwards, but it's also not necessarily inwards. We are further beyond the senses. We are beyond the mental body, so the intellect, the ego. We are really divinely connected to Source. And I have not achieved this yet. I will. And it's my intention that we all will, through this continued practice. Ultimately, what prevents us from getting to that so-called absolute or superconscious state is maya, illusion, ego. So it's all of the things that pop into our head to try and keep us in this physical realm, in this third dimension. So, when we're trying to get into our meditation, it's those thoughts of, I can hear the bin men outside, my partner has got the TV on too loud, that I'm sat really uncomfortably, or I'm lying down, I've got an itch here, my nose is itchy. It's all of those physical things that we feel that stop us from getting to the next stage. When we get to the next stage, for example, it's as we draw inwards, it's our mind going, you didn't buy this for dinner tonight. You need to make sure you get this done quickly because you've got to remember to get started on the dinner. make sure you don't spend too long on this, because you've got to get that invoice over to that client. You can only do this for 5 minutes. You've got to make this 5 minutes count. You've set your timer for 5 minutes, so make sure it feels like you've had a solid 5 minutes. And it's the ego that's keeping us in that state of the physical, in this third dimension, this 3D realm. And so it's that Maya, that illusion, the ego, that stops us from reaching the next step. And I personally believe that that illusion can impact every single step of the meditation journey if we allow it to. It's a lot stronger when we're very new to meditation. The more we practice, and if you're able to practice daily without saying, I'm going to do 30 minutes every day, instead just saying, I'm going to make sure I make time every day, even if it's 60 seconds. The more we practice with that consistency, the easier we find it to journey through those layers of the body and those layers of consciousness, where we ride the waves of consciousness. We ride those waves of beta, delta, theta, before we go into that kind of dreamless sleep. And something that can really help with this is chanting. Now, we've done it once before in our live online circle when we were exploring the Mandukya Upanishad, and I feel like chanting can feel very strange and can make us feel very self-conscious. But we're going to do it again today, and I'm going to take you through the resonance again, because I want you to really connect with how it feels. And then we're going to take a few ohms together, and we're going to finish with another chant, which is Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, and Shanti means peace. So get comfortable, bring yourself, whether you're sat on the floor or sat on a chair, just find your seat of comfort, whatever that may feel like for you. And if it helps, bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest. We're going to start by connecting to our breath, okay? So just take a moment, close the eyes if it feels comfortable. And take the time here to connect to your breath, noticing where it's landing and how it feels. Notice the comfort, the ease, the discomfort, and the resistance. Notice your thoughts, beliefs, and judgments as they enter your mind. Notice those tasks. And then put them in a bag. And just like the bin men who come every week to collect your household rubbish and your garden waste, your recycling, think of me as your personal bin lady. Every time a thought enters into your mind that doesn't serve you in this moment, put it in the bag and give the bag to me. And then at the end of the practice, it's up to you if you want to take that bag back or if you want me to take it away. Welcome those thoughts in. Welcome those beliefs and those judgments, and watch as they enter in, kind of like a TV screen. You're watching it completely unattached. And then choose. Do I want to take this thought, this belief, this judgment into my practice today? Or do I want to put it into a bag and hand it over to Sam? Stay focused on your breath. And slowly, slowly invite the inhale to deepen. And the exhale to lengthen. Breathing it in through the nose. Breathing it out through the mouth. And take 3 more rounds here at your own pace. and bringing both hands to the belly. We're going to begin our practice of chanting, focusing on the to begin with. And remember, this is a low pitch. It's more of an not so much an so we're quite low, okay? I'll do the first one and then we'll take 3 together. And remember, you can do it silently if you prefer. Focus on how it feels. Both hands resting on the belly. Notice where you feel that resonance. Feel free to join in. Inhale through the nose. Pause before you take your next inhale. Bring both hands to the chest. We're going to continue moving on to the ooh. Remember, it's a low pitch. Ooh. Connect to the sound, connect to the resonance and where you feel it in your body. Ooh. Feel free to join in, taking an inhale through the nose. And finally, the again, low pitch, lips closed. Hands can be to the head. Notice where you feel the resonance, connect to the sound. Bring one hand back to the belly, one hand to the chest. Take a few rounds of breath here, just your natural rhythm. We're going to take 3 chants of Om together. Remember, connect to the resonance. We inhale through the nose, connect to the sound. As you exhale it, connect to the resonance where you feel it in the body, and remember to pause. The pause is just as important as the sound itself. Close the eyes if it feels comfortable. I'll do the first and then we'll take 3 together. Feel free to join in. Inhale through the nose. If you want to carry on here, feel free to pause. Otherwise, take a few moments. Reconnect back to your breath. Notice where it's landing. Notice how it feels. Notice how you feel. Can you still feel the resonance of that sound vibrating in your mind, between your ears, or maybe closer to your chest or your belly? Bring both hands to the heart center. We're going to take one round of Om Shanti Shanti. Feel free to join in. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bring both hands together in front of your heart center. Give them a good rub here. Feel that warmth, heat and energy resonate throughout your entire body. Placing the hands over the eyes. Feel that warmth, heat and energy resonate. Take a few moments here. And speak to yourself an affirmation, or maybe say Om Shanti 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 3 times. Inwards or out loud. Keeping the eyes closed, draw the hands away, place them one on top of the other at your heart center. And when you're ready, gently flicker open the eyes. Welcome back into this space. I have a few questions for you to ponder, to journal throughout the rest of this week, whenever you have time. So a couple of the questions I shared with you in our online circle. If you haven't had a chance to catch up with that yet, if you didn't join us for the live and you're catching up on the replay, don't worry, I'm going to share them here as well. So the first question, question 1. What do I see, hear, smell, feel, taste in this moment? These are great questions to ask when we first bring ourselves into our personal practice when it comes to meditation and breath work. So that first question again, what do I see, hear, smell, feel, and taste in this moment? And you don't have to write this down when you're meditating. You can literally be with your eyes closed. What do I see? Your eyes are closed and maybe it's completely blank, dark. Maybe you see kaleidoscope colours, maybe just one colour. What do I hear? Maybe it's the sounds outside the room. Maybe it's the birds, maybe it's the rain, maybe it's the bin men. Maybe it's a TV in the other room. Maybe it's your breath. What can I smell? Maybe you've got a candle burning. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe you can't smell anything. It's just fresh air. Or maybe you need to open a window because actually the room you're in, the air suddenly feels really stagnant. And it's being aware of what you can see, smell, hear without attaching to it. What do I feel? What do I feel in myself? What emotions are flowing through me right now? Emotions am I observing? But also, how do I feel in this position, whether I'm lying down, sat, cross-legged on a chair? How does my body feel physically? And what can I taste? Maybe you've just had a cup of tea or coffee or some water. Maybe you've just eaten. Maybe that taste is still lingering. Or maybe, again, there's nothing. And it's just that normal taste of your mouth on its own. So it's noticing those things without attaching to them. Question 2. What dream can I focus on as my last thought before I go to sleep at night? When we ride the waves of meditation, they're very similar to the waves we ride when we sleep. So as we're drifting into sleep, just as we hit that kind of tipping point between consciousness and unconsciousness, going into that sleep, that deeper sleep, we're riding a wave called a theta wave. And that point, that tipping point, just before we go into that deeper sleep, you know, you could be woken up sometimes, like our leg will jerk, and you know, have you ever had that kind of like little tiny dream where just as you're drifting off to sleep, like you trip over a step in your dream and you jolt awake? It's that point. That point, that wave is so powerful when it comes to our thoughts. So it's really imperative that our final thought before we drift off into that deeper sleep is a thought that is serving us, a thought that brings us joy and happiness. It might be feeling grateful for the amazing day that you had, or that you are grateful for all of the things that you have in your life. It may be that you are focusing on something that you wish to have in the future, and you're trying to get yourself on that right kind of wavelength for receiving it, right? So it might be that in that moment you're thinking of this thing that you really want to have and getting yourself into the mindset of already having it, which is not easy. But once we get on that frequency, it's super powerful. So turning ourselves towards those thoughts that are truly serving us in that pivotal moment can be one of the most single powerful things that we do. So that second question again, what dream can I focus on as my last thought before I go to sleep at night? Question number 3. Have I ever experienced the unconscious state during meditation where for a moment my mind was completely clear? Have I ever experienced the unconscious state during meditation where for a moment my mind was completely clear? So like I said to you before, I know I've had that moment and it's been like a split second, but it's also been an eternity. And I'm only aware of it when another thought comes flooding in. And sometimes I can't get back there in the same meditation, and that's okay, because that moment, that feeling that it creates within me is so powerful that I end up on a bit of a high for the rest of that day that kind of is pretty untouchable. So if I'm dealing with someone who's not in a great mood after that particular meditation, it's like their mood just like bounces off me. It's like they can't, their bad energy just can't touch me. And that is just one of the nicest feelings that I've ever experienced. So those are the first 3 questions that I shared in our online circle. So we have 5 more. So the 4th question, have I ever been aware of the pause between my thoughts in this state? So have I ever been aware of the pause between my thoughts? I personally haven't, until the next thought comes flooding in and suddenly I'm thinking, hang on, I want to go back there. But have you ever been aware of that in the moment? I think that is probably one of the most interesting things to consider, because I'm pretty certain that if we're in that state where we're neither conscious nor unconscious, we can't be aware of it. But that's just my experience. Question number 5. What is blocking me from realizing my true self? And by true self, I mean my soul purpose. Why was I put here on this earth? What was I put here to do? What is the message that I want to share? What is it that I want to do for other people? Who do I want to be in service of? And it's okay if you don't know the answer, because for a long time, I didn't. I knew that I wanted to do more than what I was doing when I was teaching and when I was in sales, but I didn't know what that thing was. And I just kept asking, what is it? What is it? Show me, tell me, what is it that I'm meant to be doing? And it took basically my entire sales career to work it out, 7 years, you know? So it took me a long time to work out that this what I'm doing now was what I wanted to do. And even now, this may change, right? Because we are ever evolving. Maybe you already know, maybe you're doing what you feel you were put here to do. And that's totally cool as well. So that fifth question again, what is blocking me from realizing my true self? What is it that's blocking you? What are those things that are standing in your way, the illusions, that Maya, that's stopping you from connecting to your higher self, connecting to source, connecting to the divine, realizing your own divine feminine, divine masculine, those energies. Question number 6. What steps can I take to reach this absolute state? So again, I don't know if reaching that state is even possible for me. I don't know. But I am getting back into my meditation practice on an almost daily basis. So I feel I have a better chance than when I wasn't doing it, right? So what steps can I take to reach this absolute state? For me, it's consistency. Showing up for myself and, you know, being busy breathing consciously. 7th question. Can I approach these steps with zero expectation? Be completely honest with yourself here. Can I approach these steps with zero expectation? Yeah, probably most of the time we can, but there's going to be times when expectation's going to come in. As long as we're aware of it, then in the moment we can kind of go, no thanks. So be really honest with yourself with this question. Can I approach these steps with zero expectation? Because if you know that there are things that are blocking you and you know that your expectations of yourself and of the process are part of that block, be honest with yourself, and that way you can overcome them. It'll take time. I'm not going to say it's going to be an overnight thing, right? Everyone's different. We're all on this journey together, but we're just at different stages, and that's okay. The final question is, when you chant, when you practice the Om, that Bija mantra, the Om, where do you feel it? Where do you feel that resonance? No matter whether it's the ah, the oo, the where do you feel it the most? Because that could help you in determining your truest self, your true soul purpose, and it may help you to overcome those blocks and those expectations. So remember, the Ah is the Brahma energy, that creative force. So if you're naturally a very creative person, maybe you're feeling that resonance lower down in your torso. It might not be right the way down in your belly, but perhaps lower than the chest, right? So maybe it's a little bit lower. Maybe that's a sign of your deeply rooted creative energy. Maybe you feel it higher up in the chest, and so that's a indication of your problem-solving energy. Perhaps you very much like things just so, right? You are organized. You love the idea of preserving things. Not so much in the literal sense, but in the sense of everything has its place. There's order amongst the chaos. You're a very organized person. It's very much that Vishnu energy. And if you notice that you feel it more in your head, right? Maybe you are a natural speaker. Maybe you are an ideas person. Maybe you love the idea of projects, you know, that kind of creating new ideas and building new things, but not necessarily being the person to do it with your own hands. So you're the ideas person, you create the idea, but you want someone else to execute it for you, right? So I really would love for you to meditate on that, ponder that, and write it down, journal on it. And if you feel comfortable sharing any of what has come up for you in the app, please do, because that's what that space is for. It's there for us to share and to support one another on this journey that we're taking together, even though we're all at different stages. So thank you for joining me today. A little bit of a different session today, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And I will see you on Monday for our next online live circle. Take care, stay well. Bye.